yeah, at some point, the dam has to break for Nebraska, and I think you're going to see that this year. Listen, what does a bounce back mean? I'm not sure Tommy Frazier is walking through that door, and we're going to see Nebraska competing for national championships. But listen, they ran Bo Pelini out of town because he couldn't get to double digits and kept losing 4 games. I think Nebraska can get back to that. Maybe not right away, but it's hard to believe. It's been, I believe, 6 years since they've been to a bowl game. That's insane at any power program. Like, that's hard to do at a place that really cares and really invests in football. And yet, that's something that Nebraska has done. Mike Riley, I think, won 9 games. I want to say 2017. And they haven't been to a bowl game since then. For all of Scott Frost, I mean, what were the betting odds when Scott Frost took that job that he would never have a winning season?
Golly, we were talking about that. All the grades were like A's and A+ for Scott Frost when he got hired.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, listen, we heard plenty from last year and really most of the Scott Frost tenure to suggest that it was not the best situation. There are a lot of game management issues that showed up on Saturday. The jokes were very funny, but when you lose so many close games, you upgrade the coaching staff. I think the roster is probably slightly better. I think you're going to be okay. And again, like we talked about with Wisconsin, you're in the Big Ten West. Like, it's not like you're sitting there in the SEC West where you got to play LSU, Alabama, Texas A&M, all these super, super talented teams. Like, you're going to be okay if you're competent and you don't beat yourself. Nebraska's been doing a lot of beating themselves the last couple of years. I think they can stop that under Matt Rhule. And one of the hallmarks of his program is toughness. I think there's a toughness that he can instill immediately. And I think, from the Scott Frost era, like 120th in rush defense last year, that's black shirts. Come on. That's white flag. That's white flag stuff right there. I think, I'm not in love with the personnel at Nebraska. I think they got a long ways to go to build that up and to get where you can really start doing the things that Nebraska wants to do. And there's a fair debate about what the ceiling and what the realistic expectations should be in that program. But it should be better than what they've done the last, half decade. Certainly a lot better than that. And there's no excuse to be that bad. I mean, 6 losing seasons in a row is wild. I think that ends now.
3, 4, and 8 seasons, 2 3-win seasons, and a 5-win season.
It's hard to
That's
like
rough.
They have been bad, but they have not been like laughing stock bad where you're just like, oh, this is a disaster. It seems like every year they've just been like, what's going on there? Why aren't they better than this? And it's hard to believe when you see it on paper. You're like, wow, they have been not good for a long time because people think of them as an average program. They've been way below average, like since Bo left. And
2016,
it's crazy.
The 9-4 was the last time they had a winning record. I'll say this: I'm high on Nebraska too. When Ari and I did the buy or sell, I was definitely a buy on Nebraska, and more on, I think, on the long term because of Matt Rhule's ability to build a program. What I will say about 2023 is this year is going to be fascinating to me with the Cornhuskers, because one thing that Matt Rhule has done at his previous 2 college stops is he's had really rough first years. And it would think Temple, I believe they went 2-10 that first year. And at Baylor, it was 1-11. And Matt is very much a rip it down to the studs and build back from the ground up kind of builder. So that said, things have changed since he's last been a college coach because the one-time transfer rule came in. The portal has become a big mechanism for roster management.
And this is the best situation he's taken over by far.
100%.
Something.
100%. But because of that style and the way he builds, I'm curious how much progress do we see this year? I do think there's going to be improvement. And I do think in the long term, this hire works out. And I think this was a great direction to go for the Cornhuskers. I think he'll do a great job rebuilding this program up. But watching it this year will be fascinating to me just because of how it's happened in the previous 2 stops and just the way that he builds these things from the start. I think that the first year is always the toughest in a Matt Rhule program. And
Matt Rhule might be the only coach on the planet who has broken 2 programs' hearts by leaving, and they're still like, we love that guy. That's hard to do. We just talked about Bobby Petrino. That has not been his experience. He has gone out in many ways in a blaze of glory. And, Matt Rhule, I don't know how you do that. I think Matt Rhule, obviously, a immensely likable person. I know I spent some time with him. Sam, you have as well. And maybe that's part of it, but it's hard to sort of leave, especially leaving when things are good and having people sort of be like, It's okay. We get it.